The James Show Podcast.
Welcome back to the big show. And Texas is still the top story of the entire nation right now in our redistricting fight. And let me go ahead and put some parameters on this. I don't think these guys are going to go to jail. I don't think they're going to lose their seat. They might lose like a committee chairmanship or seniority in whatever committees they're in, or some little slap on the wrist. But if they do get some sort of significant punishment, if they get charged with a crime, anything more than a fine, if they do lose their seats, that would be a first. Because I've seen this, you've seen this. These guys never get held to account. And what does that mean, though? What does that mean if they're never held to account? This is the context I wanted to start with. How complicit is the GOP in this? And I don't mean you if you're a Republican, or Republicans like with a small R. I mean the guys that are elected in positions of power in the Texas House and the Texas Senate. Are they complicit in this? Do they not care whether or not they get the map? Do they not care as long as they get the map? The redistricting map, the seats redrawn. Because there's no doubt in my mind that the redistricting dodgers should all at least lose their seats. I would like to see some of them charged with a crime. Maybe go to jail. I don't mean for like years at a time, but like a week in jail or 30 days in jail and you lose your seat. I don't think I'm going to get the jail thing, and that's fine. I would settle for, in a nice negotiating fashion, them losing their seats. That's not going to happen either. I have no hope. I have no optimism that's going to happen. I'm not a cynic by nature, but I am a cynic by observation. That's for damn sure. Now, Greg Abbott's going around saying that, they've given up their seats. Well, do something about it then. Make it happen.
And I believe they have forfeited their seats in the state legislature because they're not doing the job they were elected to do.
Yeah. So, okay. They forfeited their seats. Kick them out. Here's something else you could do. Republicans in Austin, real brain buster here. Why don't you pass a law that says if you flee the state to avoid a quorum or to avoid a vote, you automatically give up your seat? So in the future, they won't try this again. This has happened in the past. This has happened just a few years ago, and then it happened, I guess 20 years ago was the first time I really remember it happening and having to cover it on talk radio. What was that, like 2003 or something? If it happened back then, if you put one of these laws in place, then it wouldn't have happened today. You wouldn't be dealing with this right now. So not only should you adequately punish these guys, but you should also reset the stage so this doesn't happen in the future. Because what you're giving them is a veto over everything that you possibly could want to do. So yeah, at least lose their seat, probably go to jail. But the real fix here, so this doesn't happen in the future, is pass a law that makes it automatic. You flee a vote, you're out. You flee a vote, put some real teeth into it. You flee a vote, you're out, you automatically lose your seat. And if you come back to Texas, you do 90 days in jail. How about that? Something. What would you do? How would you prevent this from happening in the future? What would you do about it now? I want you to go ahead and say it out loud. And then I want you to watch the people that you sent to Austin not do these very good ideas that I just thrown out and a bunch of listeners are about to throw out too. 800-288-9227. This is Michael and Hunter. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James. Love the show.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Just want to say they've done this before. I think Abbott's just doing some pro wrestling here, kind of like he did with the border. He tried to close it, but the horses were already out of the barn when he closed the door. Same thing here. He's just trying to say the right things that keep the base happy, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't think they're really bothered about it. I don't think they're really that much into the maps. I don't think they care much either way.
I'm with you. I think Abbott's just trying to say the right stuff to, stay on the dance floor, but real Team Red knows what he's up to, and just kind of pathetic. I do think H.E. Ken Paxton is awesome. He does a great job. Abbott, not so much.
Well, he might be. The real problem we have is the rhinos, the people that voted for these guys that go down to Austin and don't do what the voters put them in office to do. And I really don't know how to fix that other than pay attention in the primaries. And if you get a bad result out of the primary, you have to vote third party. I know you hate it. I know you hate the Democrats and you don't want to let them win. But if we had all done this, if we did this in 2008 when they tried to give us John McCain, I can't believe Republicans actually went to a ballot box and voted for John McCain. He is not a Republican by the ideological senses. I can't can't believe they did the same thing for Mitt Romney. And if people wouldn't have talked me down then and said, no, you can't do it. You're going to let the Democrats win. We're not going to have a country with Democrats win. Well, they won. And if you would have done it back then, we wouldn't be dealing with it now. And that's kind of like how I feel about this whole redistricting thing. If we put the hammer down now, we won't have to deal with this. But also, if we had done it 20 years ago, we wouldn't be dealing with it now. Yeah, I agree.
Same rhinos voted for H.E. Paxton's impeachment. It's just
exactly
wrestling.
Well, I do have the rhino list. If you need the rhino list, send me an email. I'll send it to you.
I got my stink eye right on it, my dude.
You already got it? Oh, now I like it. All right, that's Michael and Hunter. Some of the state legislators that fled did a press conference yesterday, and I thought that was kind of amusing because they did the press conference from way up in Massachusetts. So we have the political apparatchiks in Illinois, I know the S is silent, sorry, New York, and now Massachusetts. Pretty much the three bluest states are the mouthpiece. Boy, that'll win over the average Texan. Why don't you just throw in California while you're at it? My next guest, Victoria Churchill from Young Voices, coming back on the James Show. And I want to start with you, Victoria, by asking if Texas gets to redistrict in this way, we're seeing a lot of threats that other states are going to follow suit. Do you see this as sort of a row of dominoes that's about to start falling down?
Well, so here's the thing, James, right, is that a lot of these states that are making these complaints are actually ones that are some of the most gerrymandered states, like Illinois itself, where some of these Democrats, a majority of them, I think, based on my reporting, at least earlier in the week, a couple of days ago, there was over 50 of these Texas Democrats that had gone to Illinois. And so, again, I think it's really actually quite ironic and really points to a lot of irony within the Democrat Party that they're, I think, in a way, celebrating by shining a light on some of these states, like I mentioned, like Illinois, right, like California, where Republicans get a lot closer, to 50% of the vote versus they have zero or, maybe a handful of Republicans actually elected in the state. And so, I think Democrats, if they do anything with this, I think they're really going to open up a can of worms to really shine some more criticism on themselves.
Well, Victoria Churchill, when it comes to this whole redistricting fight, I have noticed, it's been my observation, that every state has a gerrymandered map. Is that a fair assessment in your observation?
Yeah, again, lots of states, basically, because I think, as you've probably gone over with your audience, right, it's the state legislators that control the maps. And then kind of the federal groups, in this case, kind of that forced the Texas redistricting. It was, I believe, the U.S. Department of Justice, if I'm not mistaken, had kind of said that the maps were incorrect. But they have to go back to the state legislators to fix them. And so, again, kind of the states have the power. And so if there's states that have a certain political party in power, a lot of times that political party wants to keep themselves in power. And I think even more selfishly than that, I think some of those people, if they're in state office and they maybe see a future for themselves running for federal office, they might draw a couple lines that may even benefit themselves directly in the future. And so, again, I think this is something that both political parties engage in. Well,
the other thing that we're watching here in Texas is this has happened before. This happened a few years ago. This happened 20 years ago. The likelihood that these people are going to be punished, a lot of us, including myself, are really cynical about the prospects of these guys being punished, which means they'll probably just keep doing it in the future. Do you think that these people will actually face any significant negative consequences for fleeing the vote?
I mean, if you listen to Governor Abbott and if you listen to Attorney General Ken Paxton, who, actually, I don't know if anybody in Texas has picked up on this, but he's actually been doing some interviews on this from Europe, which I thought was interesting that Paxton is actually, at least based on my knowledge, not in the state right now as he's coming out against this. But, they've threatened to kick these members out of their seats basically for not following kind of their constitutionally mandated duty by, of course, breaking quorum, which, means that legislative business can't proceed, particularly during the special session. So, at least based on what the governor and the attorney general believe, they believe that they have full standing to kind of prosecute legally. And then, another thing that the governor had raised issue with in his statement, which he sent out on, I believe it was late Sunday night, was actually how this is all being funded. And so, the Democrats, they took a private jet. And so the House Democrat Caucus chair, I believe his name is Gene Wu, he had actually been soliciting donations to the caucus to fund kind of their antics. And so, that's something that the governor has shed a light on, and that Paxton may be focusing on moving forward, is that, basically what they are saying this amounts to is legislators pretty much being bribed to not do their jobs. And so again, I'm not a lawyer. It's not going to be up to me to decide. But, I think their framing around the issue is very, very interesting.
All right, Victoria Churchill, good chat. How do we find you work online these days?
Yeah, I'm with Daily Mail as of a couple of months ago. I'm a U.S. politics reporter, primarily covering Congress, but of course issues like this that overlap with Congress, because Congress is very interested to see whether, Republicans can guarantee themselves a few extra seats, especially in days like today where majorities are super thin in the House and the Senate. So, all of those overlaps I'm covering at the Daily Mail. You can also follow me on X, on TikTok, on Instagram. I'm on all social platforms, and hope to be back on with you soon. Always a pleasure, James.
Oh, we'll definitely have you back. Thank you very much. There's Victoria Churchill again. To the phones we go. You heard what she thought. Victoria Churchill from the Daily Mail. What do you think? Let's ask Bill and Garland. You're on WBAP.
I think this is all, nothing's going to happen. These people will not be punished.
I know, right?
It's just a joke. It's just like this thing in Washington. They're after Brennan, Clapper, nothing. They're going to waste hundreds of millions of dollars investigating this, and nothing is going to happen. The deep state is going to kick in, and it's going to be over. And this Texas thing is, I love Governor Abbott, but nothing's going to happen here. You know that.
I think so. Now, norms can be broken, and, history doesn't always repeat itself, but I'm super cynical. I hear it in your voice. I feel the same way, Bill and Garland. I wish they would. But congressional investigations, do they ever land anyone significant in jail? And I mean significant. Like a Steve Bannon will go to jail, or a Paul Manafort will go to jail, or Scooter Libby will go to jail. But it's never like a Hillary Clinton. It's never like a James Comey. It's never any of these people that you consider to actually be in the elite upper crusty. Ray in Austin, you're on WBAP.
Hi, James. I always enjoy a nice laugh listening to your show in the afternoon.
Thank you. I hope you're laughing with me and not at me.
No, with you all the way.
Okay, cool.
I think they need to pass 3 more maps, one that nets 6 seats, one that nets 7, and one that nets 8, and attach them to dates and say, if you show up after this date, then the 6-seat map is kicking in. After that date, the 7-seat map, then the 8-seat map. Or
I don't know if they can do that. I think they've kind of mapped out or maxed out what they can map out as far as getting extra seats. If they could get more, they probably would have drawn it into this map to begin with.
Then let's add some legislative desires on there that they will hate, and say, all right, well, we're going to go ahead and include this in the next round of votes if you show up beyond this date. Something that's not as quite the level of criminal, but might take a bite out of them.
I think what you're getting at here is the old Sun Tzu principle. Did you ever read Art of War?
I did not, but I like it.
Okay, so like if you have your army that you're trying to defeat, or your enemy you're trying to defeat, and they're all holed up in a fortress, you don't attack the fortress. You go attack something that's precious to them to make them come out of the fortress. So yeah,
let's go Sun Tzu them. Come on,
right? That's not a bad idea. See, Ray just intuitively thought it like one of the greatest war generals in history, channeling 2,500 years of wisdom all the way from Austin. All right, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up on the James Show, if the redistricting Dodgers aren't punished, doesn't that make the GOP representatives complicit? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Now, homeowners, listen up. We are still getting some weather. We are still getting rain. We're supposed to be in drought season by now. We're not supposed to be dealing with storms. So your roof has really taken a beating in 2025, more so than a normal year. And if you have any doubts, I want you to call my friends, the Hopkins, over at Blue Ribbon Roofing. John Hopkins got on my roof and did the free roof inspection. I'm telling you to set up right now. Yeah, the guy who owns the joint, he brought his own ladder, hopped up there, showed me some pictures, talked about what he saw. He said, Parker, you literally have the same shingles I have on my personal house. They redid his roof recently, and it was the same style. It was the same brand. It was the exact same color. I don't know other adjectives to say about roofing shingles because John Hopkins is the expert. Tish is the expert. And their son Trevor, also in the business. So don't just believe me. Go to blueribbondfw.com, read some of the 5-star reviews, and then do what I did. Set up your free inspection. If there's nothing wrong with it doesn't cost you anything, and you'll be glad you did. If there is some problems, they'll help you work through it, give you some options, and if you need help with that pesky insurance company, they're pros at that too. Go to Blue Ribbon DFW. Yeah, terrible news as we were dropping in on the press conference that's happening in Fort Stewart, Georgia. We had 5 soldiers that were shot by another active duty soldier this morning, about 10 o'clock our time, and he was caught about 10:30-ish our time. There was a lockdown for a little bit. It was lifted long before the James show started. And so we were just waiting for more information about that because other than 5 people shot but expected to survive, we didn't know enough to even really talk about. So now we do. We have the name of the suspect. We have a little bit more information that he was an active duty soldier and all 5 guys are expected to survive. We've also had the Army officials above him and all the way up to Dan Bongino, Carolyn Levitt. A lot of people are putting posts on social media now, starting the chatter here. But 5 soldiers were shot today in an active shooter incident. So we don't know the motive yet. They didn't admit it in the press conference from what we saw so far. In fact, I was listening a little bit before we broke in, and the lady that was sort of introducing this guy said they're not going to talk about the motive or answer any questions about the motive thus far, which, I know, we shouldn't be so cynical, but doesn't that make it suspicious? Also, for you people keeping track here, does this fit the definition of white rural rage? No, it does not. Does that matter? No, it doesn't, but that's the silly games that are played when it fits the narrative. Embarrassingly, Fort Stewart's a pretty big installation, 15,000 active duty soldiers. It's about 40 miles southwest of Savannah, Georgia. It's a huge place, not too far from the Atlantic Ocean over here, but almost touching South Carolina as well. So sorry to have to give you that update. It's a tragedy at Fort Stewart. Luckily, it looks like everyone is going to be fine. But 5 people shot, mass shooting, military base. That doesn't happen very often. So also, glad they caught him as fast as they did. Do we want to speculate on his motive? Not yet, but we probably will on tomorrow's show. You know, it's kind of weird to do it that close to the event. It's also can be a shameful thing if you get something really wrong before you have some crucial pieces of information. So we'll keep an eye on that. And on the next break, I'll go review what else was said at the press conference, pass along anything that I think you might be of interest, that might be of interest to you. All right. My next story, though, I don't know, seems kind of silly when you talk about 5 shot soldiers, but they're all going to be okay. I'm really interested in this story about the Wild Club that was shut down in Deep Ellum. Do you know the place, Rodeo Dallas? If not, totally understandable. If you hang out in Deep Ellum any, you definitely know it. And if you think, like, I hang out in Deep Ellum, but which one is that? That's the one that has the big open window. So if they pull up the shutters on the corner of, I think it's Elm and Crowdis, the club is like wide open. It's just like a little waist-high wall and then a big open. And when I say window, there's nothing there, just like a hole in the wall. So when the weather's good, they have it open and their loud music like streams out into the street. They have the mechanical bull, so even if you're walking down the street, you can watch people ride it or fall off of it. But the reason it's getting shackled is because the crowd that it attracts has not been very fun for the rest of the neighbors. Now, Rodeo Dallas doesn't mind. Rodeo Dallas is making money. Rodeo Dallas sold more alcohol last month than any other bar in Deep Ellum. It was the 11th highest bar in Dallas, according to some of these reports. And I actually... I've never set foot in there, but since it's right next to a place where I have gone on a semi-regular basis, I'm one who has seen the crowd that it attracts. I am one who has seen how it spills out into the sidewalk. And I also understand how it sells more alcohol than any other bar, even though it's kind of shady, kind of sketchy, kind of rough, kind of violent, because that place rocks even on a Tuesday. Even on a Wednesday, they get a crowd when most other bars aren't doing so well. So I get it. I understand why, but I'm sort of conflicted in this one. The only thing that makes me okay with this club being shut down is that the landlord did it and not the city or the state or the county or some government entity. Because I kind of bristle. I find that abrasive when the government can pick and choose which businesses stay open and stay closed. And I felt like that before COVID. But since COVID, I'm incredibly intolerant of giving power that's so easily corruptible there. But in this one, this was the landlord that did it. So this does sit well with my little delicate libertarian sensitivities. And I just think that's awful, though. How one business, it's crazy because WFAA went and talked to a bunch of their neighbors. How one business was just sort of universally despised in a neighborhood that's supposed to be all about partying. This was WFAA's report last night.
Under the glow of Deep Ellum's neon lights, Rodeo Dallas has drawn a crowd, but it also attracted police cars. Tonight, both are gone after Rodeo's property owners moved to close the popular bar. Matt Howerton spoke with people in the area who say they're celebrating.
Deep Ellum is in a constant fight for its reputation. And moments like these don't help.
There have been many chances that I think that Rodeo has had to kind of clean up their act.
Stakeholders here say it's why Rodeo was chained shut Tuesday, closed by its property owners Westdale Real Estate Investment and Management, a heavy player in the neighborhood for, quote, lease violations.
There's a responsibility that you have to not only community that you're in, but also your patrons.
Dan Murray is one of those stakeholders. His bar, Armory, is a nearby neighbor to Rodeo.
Their clientele
Doritos Golden Sriracha.
Get hammered in there, and then they just kind of get pushed out into the street and then let the rest of the neighborhood deal with them.
July wasn't the best month in Deep Ellum. Several were shot in a parking lot following the 4th. DPD even shooting a man with a gun running towards them, they say. These fights outside of Rodeo were also that weekend. Councilmember Jesse Moreno holding a meeting with business owners after that. On Tuesday, he posted this photo of Rodeo's doors shut, writing, "If you know, you know."
Honestly, I feel like it's a win for the neighborhood.
Brittany Madler is a Deep Ellum patron and former bartender in the area.
It was a gamble with who came down here.
Yeah, Rodeo's sick. It's kind of like the staple of Deep Ellum.
But some who know the good times Rodeo brings can't seem to make sense of it all.
I don't know. I kind of don't think that the city or the government should have control of how a business owner makes their money.
Per the state, the bar did a ton of business, a top earner for Dallas alcohol sales in the month of May, sitting at 11.
Westdale, who owns the property here, and others in Deep Ellum, provided us no comment when we reached out.
We also reached out to the owners of Rodeo, nothing yet. In a neighborhood where image matters, a big question remains, will Deep Ellum without Rodeo start to feel like itself again? In Dallas, I'm Matt Howerton.
So, if you believe what the Dallas Morning News says, City Hall had leaned on the landlord to kick those guys out. Are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with a landlord kicking out a business that's otherwise paying their bills and being profitable and not breaking the law? Are you comfortable with City Hall leaning on the landlord? Would it bother you if City Hall had just shackled the doors and locked them out themselves? And again, conflicted on this one. You're a property owner. You should be able to do whatever you want as long as you're not breaking any other laws. And they weren't really breaking any other laws. But then again, there's no doubt that neighborhood is better off. Deep Ellum is better off. The other businesses, the other patrons, the other artists and musicians, tourists are better off now that place is gone. Interesting news that I heard this morning. There was a bomb threat aimed at Texas Democrats. Well, Texas in air quotes. They weren't in Texas. Some of the Democrats that fled the state, the redistricting Dodgers, are holed up in the luxury hotel in Illinois. And they had to evacuate their hotel early this morning after a bomb threat was made. And it wasn't made against the hotel. It was made specifically against some members there, according to the party and representatives. So the Democrat caucus chair, Representative Gene Wu, said it was made against members of the Texas House Democratic Caucus. Now, everyone's safe. Nothing got blown up. Everybody's fine. It was just a minor disruption. An otherwise peaceful stay at the hotel. But listen to this. We have a couple of quotes here from WFAA. Ann Johnson, a Democrat from Houston, said earlier this morning, a bomb threat forced us to evacuate our hotel. Thankfully, no one was harmed. And then her and John Busey, B-U-C-Y, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Maybe he made Buc-ee's. They were saying it was reckless rhetoric from Ken Paxton in a social media post saying he would hunt down Democrats who left the state. Isn't that amazing? The reckless rhetoric inspired and led to this threat of violence. Now, remember, violence or intimidation for political purposes could be considered terrorism. So is this a terror attack? It's a terror bomb threat call. No one got attacked. No one got hurt. But there was the threat. There was the intimidation factor. So does this really meet the definition of terrorism? Absolutely not. However, I just love the idea that they can admit reckless rhetoric, saying you would hunt down people, can cause violence, can lead crazy people, unhinged people, politically motivated people to commit acts of violence. Oh, really? Well, then can you stop calling us literally Hitler? Can you stop calling us literally Nazis? Can you stop calling us racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, transphobe, Islamophobe, all the phobes, all the terrible things in the world? Stop associating us with them. Stop calling us climate deniers, which is a quite clear allusion to Holocaust deniers. Thank you very much. Stop saying we want apartheid and comparing things that we're doing. Oh, they just want this is apartheid. This is what this is. Stop calling us fascists. Stop calling us like everything we do fascist. They want to redistrict. Oh, that's fascist. They want to get porn out of school libraries. Oh, that's fascist. Will you stop it? Because you're admitting that reckless rhetoric, over the top, heated rhetoric can cause crazy people to do crazy things, can incite violence against politicians and people for political reasons. By the way, here's the tweet from Attorney General Ken Paxton that happened August 3rd, so 3 days ago. Democrats in the Texas House who try and run away like cowards should be found, arrested, and brought back to the Capitol immediately. We should use every tool at our disposal to hunt down those who think they are above the law. So you have 2 Texas state representatives who are in Illinois right now who think that rhetoric goes too far. Wow. That's too far, huh? I mean, I have some Jasmine Crockett audio almost every day this week where she's saying something worse, where Donald Trump is a POS. Remember that one? You got to go all the way back to yesterday for that one, Trump being a POS. How about the casual racism that she throws around where she's like, we're not cowards. Me and the lady next to me, I'm black, she's Latino, so we're not cowards. With the implication that, other races would be lesser than in the same situation. No concern there. No concern about being called literally Hitler. Huh. That's interesting.
The James Show Podcast.